His voice cuts through the silence. You're just mouths to feed now. Still, I don't react. My fingers tightening around my bag strap, the only sign of the storm brewing inside me. As the familiar hum of the fridge echoes, I feel the weight of years spent invisible. While he's lost in his own world, I finally see the truth. I've been living for them, never for myself. That's when I decide, without a word to my husband, I walk away, freezing their accounts for good. All right, before we dive into this crazy story, do me a favor. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. The soft hum of the dishwasher in the corner of the kitchen is the only sound that accompanies the clink of silverware against plates. The evening feels hollow, as if the walls of their home, once warm with the laughter and chatter of family, have slowly closed in. Emily sits at the head of the dinner table, her fingers tight around the handle of her coffee mug, her knuckles pale. The steam curls up, but she doesn't drink. The mug sits cold in her hands, just like her heart. Helen's voice breaks the silence, sharp and cold. You're just mouths to feed now, aren't you? She leans back in her chair, the faintest smirk playing on her lips, as if she's delivered a cutting remark that should sting. Her eyes are hard, calculating, but she seems pleased with herself. Pleased at the way Emily shrinks under her gaze. John, sitting next to Emily, doesn't flinch. He's too used to this. His eyes are on his plate, his fork moving mechanically as he shovels in food, careful not to look up. Emily's gaze flickers to him, searching for some sign of defense, some gesture that says, "I've got your back." But there's nothing. He doesn't even blink. It's as if the words are just another passing storm, something to weather, not something to confront. The silence that follows feels suffocating. Sophie, sitting across from Emily, shifts uncomfortably in her chair. Her eyes dart between Emily and Helen, her expression a blend of confusion and hesitation. She's always been caught in the middle of this, a child trying to navigate the treacherous waters between her mother and her grandmother. But tonight, she can't hide her discomfort. Her fingers play with the edge of her napkin, a nervous tick, as if she might tear it apart if she holds on tight enough. Emily feels a tightening in her chest. Her throat is dry. She doesn't know what to say. The words she's held back for years, decades, bubble to the surface, threatening to spill out. But she doesn't speak. Not yet. Instead, she focuses on the feeling building inside her, something cold and sharp. It's anger, yes, but deeper than that. It's the realization that this moment, this pattern, has been repeated so many times that it's become a part of her life that's been shaped by these little jabs, these dismissals, a part of her that's been chipped away, bit by bit, until all that's left is the hollow shell of a woman who's been invisible for too long. Her mind replays the years, decades of being second, always second. To John, to Helen, to everyone. She thinks of the first time she met John's family, how they welcomed her with polite smiles and cold eyes. She was an outsider then, and she still is. Every decision, every gesture, every move she's made in this house has been under the shadow of Helen's approval, or lack of it. Helen's voice cuts through her thoughts. You're a burden, Emily. That's all you are. A burden to this family. The words sting, but they're not new. They're just louder now. More cutting. Emily sets her mug down on the table with a sharp clink, her fingers trembling. She catches Sophie's eyes, searching for some kind of understanding, some sign that she's not completely alone in this house. But Sophie looks away quickly, her discomfort too palpable. There's no helping her mother now. Not when the walls are closing in, not when the divide is this deep. And then, suddenly, Emily knows. She knows with a clarity that hits her like a punch to the gut. This treatment, has gone on for far too long. This place, this house, this family. it's no longer hers. She's been living a life that doesn't belong to her, one that's been dictated by the whims of a mother-in-law who couldn't care less, and a husband who couldn't find his voice if it shouted at him. She feels like a stranger in her own home, and for the first time in a long time, she wonders what it would feel like to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, not just as the woman who cooks and cleans and smiles through the pain, but as someone who deserves respect. Someone who deserves to exist beyond the roles she's been forced into. The thought sits there, heavy and uncomfortable, in the pit of her stomach. She stands up slowly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. Her sudden movement catches everyone off guard. Helen stops mid-chew, her cold eyes narrowing in suspicion, as if Emily's actions are a puzzle she can't quite solve. Sophie's gaze flickers to Emily, but she doesn't say anything. John doesn't look up at all. "Excuse me," Emily says, her voice low, almost trembling. But there's something behind it now. A weight. A finality. She doesn't wait for a response. She just turns and walks away, the sound of her footsteps echoing down the hallway, leaving the kitchen behind her. She steps into the living room, the dim lighting casting long shadows across the space. The house feels too big, too empty now. She doesn't know what she's doing, doesn't know what comes next. But in that moment, she knows one thing for certain. She can't stay. Not like this. Not in this place where she's been nothing more than a servant, a provider, a mouth to feed. The door to the house is only a few steps away. But before she can reach it, she hears the familiar sound of John's footsteps in the hallway behind her. Emily stands in the hallway, the sound of her footsteps still echoing in the silence of the house. The weight of her decision presses down on her chest, but it's not the weight of guilt, or even fear. It's something different, something sharper. It's the realization that for so long, she's been walking through life with her eyes closed, pretending that everything was fine, when in fact, she's been invisible. She leans against the wall, her fingers pressing into the cool, smooth surface. Her mind races back to the countless moments she has tried to be seen, to be heard, to matter. But each time she was overlooked. Each time she was dismissed. She thinks of all the birthdays, the anniversaries, the quiet evenings when she sat at the table, her smile a mask that she had to force on. A mask that no one ever questioned. In the early years of her marriage, she thought things would be different. John had promised her equality, a partnership. He had told her she would never have to fight for a voice in their relationship, that he would always stand by her. He'd said those words with such sincerity, with the kind of hope that had made her believe that they were building something together. But over time, she learned. She learned that John's loyalty was not to her, but to the ghost of his mother, to the chains of her influence that bound them both. Emily had hoped he would rise above it, that he would protect her from the constant weight of his mother's criticism. But every time, he folded. Every time, he looked the other way. A husband who had promised her the world had, instead, chosen the safety of silence. And Emily had been left to navigate a life where her value was diminished with every passing year. Her chest tightens as the memory of that dinner table floods her mind once more. Helen's voice, cold and dismissive, echoes in her ears. "You're just mouths to feed now, aren't you?" The words sting, but it's not just the words. It's the truth behind them. The truth that Helen has always seen her as nothing more than a caretaker, a necessary burden, a placeholder in a life that Helen had envisioned long before Emily ever came into the picture. And John, her passive, often absent husband, had done nothing to stop it. She wonders, as the tears threaten to spill, how long she's been living in this suffocating silence, how long she's been second, always second, to the needs and expectations of everyone else. For years she had put on a brave face, carried the weight of their demands, never once stopping to ask herself if she mattered. Every day, she sacrificed pieces of herself. She had silenced her own voice, her own needs, for the sake of keeping the peace, for the sake of holding together a family that never truly valued her. Now, standing here in the dimly lit hallway, the truth settles over her like a cold, hard slap. She's been invisible. She's been living for them, for John, for Helen, for Sophie, never for herself. The years have been a blur of smiles and sacrifices, of unspoken resentments and silent compromises. But now, in this moment, she sees it clearly. She sees the years of emotional neglect, the way she's been made to feel small in a house that's supposed to be a sanctuary. She thinks back to when she first moved into this house, so full of dreams and hope. She thought she was becoming part of something, a family, a team. But she quickly learned that the house was already built, and she was just an outsider trying to fit into a world where her role was already defined. She had never been allowed to shape her own place in it. Every argument, every moment of hurt, had always been about her failing to meet expectations that weren't even hers to begin with. And then there's Sophie. Emily can feel the weight of her daughter's eyes on her, the way Sophie has always been caught between her grandmother's expectations and her mother's quiet suffering. Sophie, who has grown up witnessing the slow unraveling of her mother, unable, or unwilling, to confront the truth. Emily's heart aches for her daughter, for the way she has had to endure this family dynamic, torn between two worlds. But Sophie is not the reason Emily is standing here now. Sophie is not the reason she has reached this breaking point. For the first time in years, Emily asks herself, what would it be like to live for me? To stop caring so much about everyone else's needs, their expectations, their demands? To no longer hide behind the mask of a woman who is always strong, always steady, always the one who makes it all work. To stop being the person who has to make everything okay, even when she's falling apart inside. The idea takes root, deep in her chest. It's a terrifying thought, but it's also the most freeing one she's had in years. She's not sure how it will look, or where it will take her, but for the first time in ages she feels something stir inside her. Something that isn't fear, something that isn't guilt, something that is hers. Emily takes a deep breath and turns her head toward the door. Her hand hovers over the handle. She's not ready to face what's waiting for her on the other side, but she knows she can't go back. Not now. She pushes the door open, stepping into the cold night air, leaving the house behind. And in that moment, she knows. This is the first step. She's leaving behind a life that never truly belonged to her. She's walking into the unknown. And for the first time in years, she feels alive. The house is eerily quiet. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the clock on the wall, and the faint rustle of the wind against the windows are the only sounds that accompany Emily's movements. She doesn't know how she's gotten here, standing in the middle of the bedroom, staring at the closet full of memories. The life she's been living is slipping through her fingers like sand, and she knows this is the moment that will change everything. She walks over to the dresser, her hand brushing the smooth surface of the wood. She had once imagined this room as a sanctuary, a safe place where she could unwind after a long day. But now, it feels like a prison. The walls are closing in. She feels suffocated by the years of silence, the years of pretending she was okay, of sacrificing pieces of herself until there was nothing left but a ghost of the woman she used to be. But tonight, that woman is awake. She opens the drawer and starts pulling out clothes, folding them quickly, quietly. The rhythmic sound of fabric rustling fills the space. It's methodical, almost like a ritual, as if packing her things is the only thing keeping her grounded. Each shirt, each pair of pants, is a symbol of a life she no longer wants, a life she's been holding on to for far too long. She wonders why she waited so long to do this, to realize what she's been missing, what she's been owed. She looks over at the bed, where her wedding picture lies, framed and gathering dust. The image of a younger Emily, smiling, hopeful, full of love, stares back at her. That woman, the one in the picture, doesn't exist anymore. The woman who smiled through pain, who fought for everyone else, who lived for everyone but herself. She's gone. And that realization hits harder than anything Helen has ever said. Her chest tightens, but she doesn't pause. She continues folding. Each movement is deliberate, controlled. No room for hesitation. She's spent too long living on the edge of this decision. Tonight, she's not looking back. She opens another drawer, this one filled with journals, old letters, souvenirs from trips she had taken with John. She picks up one of the journals, its leather cover cracked, the pages worn with time, and flips through it. The words she wrote years ago, filled with optimism, strike a chord deep within her. She remembers when she thought that by writing, by documenting the life she hoped to build, she could make it come true. But nothing ever changed. Not really. The pages in her journal are filled with plans and dreams that were never realized, never supported. And suddenly, the words seem hollow, like empty promises whispered in the dark. Emily sets the journal back in the drawer, not with care, but with finality. She closes it, locking away all the hopes she'd had, the hopes that had been swallowed by the suffocating weight of everyone else's demands. She moves on, packing only the essentials. A few outfits, her toothbrush, her phone charger. It's a strange feeling, this packing. As if she's pulling herself out of a dream she never really wanted to be a part of. Each item she packs represents a part of her life she's leaving behind. But it's not the things she's going to miss. It's the freedom she's about to claim. Her hand hesitates over the drawer where her wedding ring rests. She stares at it for a long moment, the diamond catching the light. The weight of it has been heavy on her finger for years, a constant reminder of the promises made and broken, of the vows that had long since been forgotten. She doesn't take it. She doesn't need it. Not anymore. She slips it off and places it in the drawer, closing it with the same sense of finality she's felt with everything else. She walks out of the bedroom, down the hall, and into Sophie's room. Sophie's bed is still made, her childhood toys scattered across the floor. Emily stands there for a moment, watching the soft rise and fall of her daughter's breathing as she sleeps. She doesn't want to wake her, doesn't want to explain. She can't. Not yet. Emily takes a deep breath and sits at the edge of Sophie's bed. She picks up a pen and a piece of paper from the desk, her hands shaking just slightly as she begins to write. Sophie, I love you more than anything. I hope you'll understand why I had to do this. This is something I need to do for me. I'll always be here for you. I'm sorry I couldn't explain, but I hope you'll forgive me someday. She doesn't know if Sophie will ever understand, but she hopes that someday she'll see that this is the only way Emily could truly live. She leaves the note on Sophie's pillow and walks toward the door, stopping for a moment to take in the familiar sights of the house. The family portraits on the wall, the worn-out furniture that has seen better days. She doesn't feel sadness. She feels relief. As she picks up her small bag, Emily walks to the front door. She places her hand on the knob, feeling its cool metal against her palm. She takes a deep breath, the weight of the decision lifting off her shoulders as she opens it. With one last look at the house that had once been her home, she steps outside. The cool night air hits her face, fresh and freeing. The streetlights flicker in the distance. But Emily doesn't look back. She's done. The door clicks shut behind her. And in that moment, she knows that this is the first time in years she's truly free. The street is empty when Emily walks away from the house, her feet moving with purpose, as if each step is propelling her further away from a life she no longer wants. The cool night air is sharp against her skin, but it feels like freedom. The weight of her decision presses against her chest, but it's a weight she's been carrying for far too long. It's a weight she's finally cast off. She walks briskly down the sidewalk, barely noticing the quiet suburban streets around her. The streetlights hum softly, casting long shadows on the pavement. She's never felt more alone, but she's also never felt more alive. Her destination is the bank. She doesn't know why, but she knows that she needs to take control of everything, of herself, of her future. No one is going to dictate her life anymore. Not John, not Helen, no one. Inside the bank, the sterile fluorescent lighting flickers overhead. The dull hum of computers and soft chatter from the tellers fills the space, but Emily is focused. She walks straight to the counter, her movements deliberate, confident. The bank clerk looks up at her, smiling politely, and asks if she can help. Emily nods, her voice calm, steady. "I need to freeze all the accounts associated with my family," she says, the words coming out without hesitation. The clerk blinks, clearly thrown off guard, but she doesn't ask questions. Instead, she begins typing into her computer. The silence that follows feels heavy, but Emily doesn't mind it. It's the silence of control, of ownership. Her heart pounds as the clerk clicks away at the keyboard, but the finality of the action is settling in. Emily's hands are steady, her resolve firm. This is the last link, the last tie she has to a life she's been suffocating in, and now she's severing it. The clerk hands her the papers. Emily signs them, and as she finishes, she feels a surge of power, something foreign but welcomed. This is her moment. The moment she takes back control. The moment she stops being the woman others have molded her into. The weight of financial dependence, her constant fear, her helplessness, is lifted in a single stroke. She has nothing left to tether her to this place, to this life. No more worrying about bills, no more feeling obligated to remain, to stay tied to John's income, to Helen's dominance. For the first time in years, she is free, and it feels like an exhale she didn't realize she was holding in. Emily walks out of the bank, the cool night air rushing to meet her once again. She pulls out her phone and glances at it, the screen blank except for a few missed calls. She knows who they're from. John. Her thumb hovers over the screen for a long moment, but she doesn't tap to call back. She doesn't need to explain herself to him. Not anymore. She doesn't owe him anything, not a single word. Instead, she swipes the screen to dismiss the call and drops the phone into her bag. She won't answer. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Maybe never. Her phone buzzes again and she knows it's John, but she doesn't check it. She keeps walking, a quiet resolve in her bones, her steps light as if she's floating above the ground. Her heart, which had once been heavy with the burden of years of sacrifice, is now filled with something lighter. Hope, maybe. Or maybe just the raw, untapped feeling of being truly, undeniably free. But as she walks, the buzzing doesn't stop. Her phone vibrates in her bag again and again. She feels the pull to check, just to see, but she shakes her head, a small smile tugging at the corner of her lips. Helen's name flashes on the screen now, followed by a string of angry, demanding texts. The words blur together, but Emily doesn't need to read them to know what they say. "You will regret this. How could you do this to us? You're tearing this family apart." She doesn't feel an ounce of guilt. In fact, she feels something much stronger. A fierce, undeniable sense of relief. Her mother-in-law's grip on her life has been broken. She feels the chains fall away, one by one, and she lets them go without a second thought. Another buzz. Sophie's name lights up the screen this time. The message is simple. Just one word. Mom? Emily's chest tightens. She hasn't told Sophie yet. Hasn't explained herself. Hasn't said goodbye. The silence that stretches between them now is something Emily knows she will need to confront. But not today. Not now. She can't explain it all to Sophie. Not until she's certain of her own future. She stops walking for a moment and stands on the sidewalk, the city lights shimmering in the distance. Her breath catches in her throat. She's standing at the edge of everything she's ever known, and she's not looking back. Her hand hovers over the phone again. One more message from Sophie. One more chance to explain. But she knows, deep down, that Sophie will understand in time. She has to. Emily's decision is final. With a sharp inhale, she drops the phone back into her bag and takes a step forward. She won't wait for John to apologize. She won't listen to Helen's demands. The life she has now is hers, and no one can take it from her. And as she moves down the street, her heart races. Not with fear, but with anticipation. The future is hers. The apartment is small, but it's hers. The walls, once bare, are starting to take shape with the little touches she's added. A small plant by the window, a worn-out armchair in the corner, a collection of books stacked neatly by the bedside table. The sunlight filters in through the blinds in the late afternoon, casting a warm glow across the room. The silence in here is different. Calm, comfortable. Not the stifling silence of the house she left behind, but a peaceful one, filled with the hum of her own thoughts, her own breath. Emily stands in front of the window, gazing out at the city below. It's a familiar scene, but for the first time, it feels like she's truly seeing it. The cars moving along the street, the people walking past, the soft murmur of life happening all around her. Everything feels new. This is her new reality now. She inhales deeply, letting the quiet settle around her like a soft blanket. She's alone, and it feels good. She hasn't realized until now just how much she's been craving this solitude. Her phone buzzes, interrupting the calm. The screen lights up with a notification from John, another missed call. Her thumb hovers over the screen for a moment, but she doesn't tap to call back. She's not ready. She doesn't need to explain herself to him. Not anymore. Not when she's finally starting to breathe again. She taps the message away and places the phone down on the small coffee table beside her. A new wave of strength surges through her. The apartment, this new life, is her choice. Everything from here on out is hers to decide. She starts unpacking, sorting through the few things she's taken with her. The items that matter. Clothes, books, her journal, a couple of old photos. Things that remind her of who she was before the years of silence, before the weight of everyone else's expectations had crushed her. Emily's mind drifts to the decisions ahead. She knows she has to get organized, set up her life. She's never done it this way before, never had to build something solely for herself. It's a little overwhelming, but she's ready. Her fingers brush over the stack of papers on the coffee table, bank statements, bills, notes she's made for herself. She doesn't have to worry about anyone else's debts, anyone else's demands anymore. It's just her now, and she feels lighter than she has in years. The phone buzzes again, but this time it's a message from Helen. The words are harsh, accusatory, filled with venom. You've ruined everything. You'll regret this. Emily's lips press together, but she doesn't feel anger. She feels nothing. She's been expecting this. The guilt trips, the manipulation, the guilt she's been carrying all these years. It no longer holds power over her. Her hand, steady and unshaken, slides the phone to the side. She won't let Helen's words disturb her peace. As she sits down at the small desk by the window, Emily begins to go through her finances. She writes down a few notes, organizes her thoughts for the future. There's no rush, just clear, careful steps. She feels the weight of the years she spent relying on others fade into the background, replaced by a quiet confidence she's never felt before. The days pass. Each morning, she wakes up to the quiet rhythm of her new life. She makes coffee in the morning light, spends her days working on setting up the foundations of her future, whether it's reworking her resume or researching business opportunities. She's not sure what she wants to do yet, but she knows she wants to build something of her own, something that belongs to her and no one else. With each passing day, Emily feels stronger, more confident. She no longer feels tethered to the past, to the people who held her back. The weight of being invisible, of being second, of being the one who gave and gave and gave without receiving anything in return, has been lifted. The thought of returning to her old life, to the place where she was nothing but a caretaker, a placeholder in someone else's narrative, it feels foreign now. That woman, the one who tolerated the cruelty, the neglect, the quiet sacrifice, she is gone. And in her place is a woman who knows her worth, who understands her value, who knows that she deserves more than the scraps she had been fed for so long. Emily pauses in the middle of her unpacking and looks around the apartment once more. It's small, yes, but it's hers, and that makes it everything. She feels the unfamiliar but welcome weight of choice. The choice to build, the choice to grow, the choice to simply be herself. Her phone buzzes again. She picks it up without hesitation this time. Another message from John. A pleading one. "Please, Emily, come home. We need to talk." She stares at the screen for a long moment. A knot forms in her chest. But it's not the old kind of pain, the kind she used to feel when she thought of leaving. No, this is something different. It's a quiet resolve, a finality. She presses delete. And with that, the past is gone. The future is hers. The phone starts ringing before the first light of dawn. The soft trill of the ringtone cuts through the quiet. But Emily doesn't reach for it. She doesn't flinch. It's become an almost familiar sound now, the notifications buzzing against her peace like an unwanted visitor she has no intention of entertaining. The number on the screen is familiar. John's. She can almost hear his voice, desperate, pleading, the words she's heard 1,000 times before. "Please, Emily. Come home. We need to talk." But she doesn't need to hear it. She doesn't need the repetition of his weakness anymore. She doesn't need the excuses. The phone buzzes again. John. The name flashes on the screen. She turns it over on the coffee table without a second glance. The decision is final. The phone continues to ring, an insistent reminder that he's out there, still waiting, still hoping for her to answer. Emily stands up slowly, walking over to the small kitchen. The apartment is quiet, save for the soft hum of the fridge and the light tapping of her shoes on the hardwood floor. She pours herself a cup of coffee, the steam rising slowly, and she inhales deeply, savoring the peace of the moment. The silence feels sacred, almost like a gift she's given herself. She knows that the outside world is pressing in, but she refuses to let it in. The phone buzzes again. This time, it's Helen. The words on the screen are even more forceful. "You will regret this. You can't just walk away." For a second, Emily feels a flicker of something, a brief moment where the guilt could creep in. She knows what Helen's capable of, how expertly she can manipulate, twist, guilt trip. But she has no room for that anymore. The weight of her mother-in-law's harsh words feels foreign, distant. This is my life, Emily thinks, and I am not going back. She picks up her coffee mug and takes a sip, feeling the warmth slide down her throat. She places it back down on the counter with care, then turns to face the phone. The buzzing continues, relentless, demanding. But Emily doesn't move. She won't break. The texts keep coming. Helen's accusations, her pleas, all layered on top of one another in a relentless cascade. How could you do this to us? This is tearing the family apart. Emily shakes her head, her fingers brushing lightly across the surface of the counter. She feels the pull to respond, to offer something, anything that will calm the storm. But she knows better now. She knows that no words will make a difference, no apologies, no explanations. It's too late for that. The phone rings again. This time, it's Sophie's name lighting up the screen. Emily stares at it for a long moment, her chest tightening as the name flashes in front of her. She's always been Sophie's mother, the one who was there for her when no one else was. But now Emily knows that she needs to be there for herself first. She doesn't owe anyone anything, not even Sophie, at least. Not yet. Not when she's still carving out the space to breathe. Her finger hovers over the screen for a moment, her heart aching just a little before she presses ignore. She can't explain it now. Sophie will understand, someday. Emily hopes she will, but for now, there's a quiet finality in leaving her daughter's call unanswered. Another buzz, then another, and another. The texts from Sophie are simple. Mom, please answer me. But Emily's resolve doesn't waver. This is the hardest part. The waiting. The wondering if Sophie will ever forgive her for this. The uncertainty gnawing at her heart. But Emily knows deep down that she's made the right choice. She cannot go back. She cannot be the woman she was. Diminished, unseen, trapped in a life she never wanted. For the first time in years, she feels the strength in her decision, the power to be alone, the power to stand firm. And yet, as the phone continues to buzz, as the texts pile up, Emily feels a stir of something else beneath the surface. It's not fear. It's the raw, almost primal urge to be free, to let go of the chains that have bound her to that house, to that life. Her hand hovers over the phone once again. The buzzing is louder now, a constant barrage of noise in the otherwise calm apartment. She's never been this resolute before. It's always been about holding it all together, about making the pieces fit, about keeping the peace. But now it's about Emily. It's about taking what's hers and forging her own path. She takes a deep breath and presses silence. And then, with her phone now resting quietly on the table, she turns her attention back to the world outside the window. The city still hums with life, unaware of the quiet revolution taking place in her own heart. She has no idea what comes next. She has no idea what she's walking into. But for the first time in a long time, she knows exactly who she is. The power is hers, and nothing can take it from her. Not even the calls that keep coming. The future is hers. The silence in the apartment is profound, almost sacred. It's the kind of quiet that isn't oppressive, but expansive, as though the space itself is giving her permission to breathe deeply, to exist. Emily leans back in her chair by the window, coffee cup in hand, watching the city unfurl beneath her, distant, muted, and full of life, yet somehow untouched by her. This is her space now, her world, her rules. She sets the cup down, the rich, comforting aroma of coffee still lingering in the air. Her fingers trace the edge of the table, feeling the smooth, familiar wood beneath her fingertips. It's an odd thing, this sense of peace. She hasn't felt it in years, hasn't allowed herself to feel it. For so long, her life had been a constant state of waiting for approval, for the next crisis to solve, for her worth to be validated. But now, in the stillness of this room, she finally feels whole. She stretches, her body waking up slowly, as though it's rediscovering itself. Her shoulders, once tense, begin to loosen, as if the weight of years of carrying the world on her back is slowly melting away. She hadn't realized how much of her energy had been spent surviving, just getting through the days. For the first time in years, she's not just existing, she's living. Her gaze drifts toward the bookshelves lining one wall of the apartment. She hasn't had time to read in ages, but today, there's a hunger for it. A need to dive into the worlds she once lost herself in. She moves to the shelf, fingers grazing over the spines, feeling the comforting weight of each book. She pulls one down, a novel she started years ago and never finished, and as she flips it open, it feels like an old friend, one she'd forgotten about, waiting patiently for her return. She sinks into the armchair by the window, the soft fabric cradling her as she opens the book. The words are a balm, soothing the edges of her mind that had been frayed by years of stress and obligation. The first few pages slip by easily, and with every turn, she feels a sense of connection return, something she'd let go of long ago. This moment is hers, and it's enough. The apartment, while small, feels full now, not with the chaos of obligations or the noise of constant demands, but with possibility. Endless possibility, she thinks, as she looks out at the world below. The street is full of life, people hurrying to their destinations, unaware of the quiet revolution unfolding just above them. And yet, it feels as if the world is unfolding just for her in this still, precious moment. Emily leans back in the chair and exhales, her mind wandering. She thinks about the future now, about what it could look like. The possibilities stretch out before her, limitless. She could take a class, start a new business, or simply spend the next few months rediscovering herself. There is no more have to. There's only want to. The freedom that once seemed so distant, like a dream just beyond her grasp, is now real. She could go anywhere, do anything, and the thought doesn't overwhelm her. It exhilarates her. For the first time in a long while, she doesn't feel the crushing weight of needing to make everyone else happy, needing to live up to expectations that never aligned with her own needs. She stands up and walks across the room, her movements fluid, natural. Her fingers brush over the photos she's placed on the windowsill. A few of Sophie, from when she was younger, sweet, innocent, full of potential. And one of Emily and her late father, the man who had always been her quiet support. The picture is a reminder of who she used to be, before the layers of expectations built up around her like a heavy wall. She gently picks up the photo of her father, her heart fluttering in her chest. For a moment, she lets herself remember the woman she was before the years of silence, before the pull of the people who never saw her. That woman, the one who had dreams, who wanted to be more than just a caretaker. She's still here. Emily smiles softly at the photo and sets it back down, her heart swelling with a mixture of grief and gratitude. She steps back and looks around at the space. This is only the beginning, she knows. The past is still there, lingering in the background like a shadow, but she refuses to let it define her anymore. She will no longer be tethered to it. The phone, which she had left silent for most of the day, buzzes once more. Emily doesn't check it right away. She stands by the window watching the evening light slowly fade and wonders for a moment what it would feel like to let go of the last vestiges of her old life. She thinks about the future, the open road ahead of her. She feels the freedom as a palpable thing, like the air she breathes, like the ground beneath her feet. Her phone buzzes again, and again. She moves toward it slowly, feeling the weight of the decision. She picks it up, glancing at the screen. A message from Sophie. "Mom?" For a moment, her heart clenches, but then she takes a deep breath and sets the phone down again, the message lingering on the screen. She can't explain everything to Sophie right now, not until she's certain of herself. But she knows, without a doubt, that she's on the right path. The path toward a life she has the power to create. The future is hers. And this time, she's not afraid. The sun is just beginning to set, painting the sky with warm hues of gold and pink as Emily stands by the window, her gaze distant. The soft hum of the world outside, people still living their lives, moving on, unaware of the quiet revolution happening in this small apartment, is a gentle reminder of the world she's left behind. But it feels different now. Her heart no longer heavy with the weight of guilt that used to follow her everywhere. She reaches for the book she had set down earlier, her fingers brushing the pages absent-mindedly. She's not thinking about the book anymore, though. Her mind is wandering, pulled back to the years of quiet sacrifice, the endless demands that shaped her. The years she spent trying to please, trying to be everything to everyone. Her husband, her mother-in-law, Sophie. She had always thought that was her role, to be the one who gave, who held it all together, who quietly accepted the crushing weight of the expectations placed on her. But it wasn't just a role, it was a prison. Her hand closes around the book, but she doesn't open it. Instead, she stands there, eyes closed, allowing herself to remember those years. The long days, the moments when her needs, her desires, her own happiness were pushed to the back burner in favor of keeping everyone else happy. How many times had she set herself aside for John, for Helen, for Sophie? How many times had she swallowed her own pain, hidden her own needs, just to maintain the illusion of peace? The countless hours spent making sure their world was stable, while hers quietly crumbled. She lets out a soft breath, her chest tightening. The guilt, the constant pressure to be everything, is something she's carried for far too long. It's been like a shadow that followed her every move. The guilt of saying no, of not giving enough, of not being enough. For years, she had been told that her worth was in her ability to care for others, to sacrifice her own happiness for the sake of their comfort. That's what she was taught. That's what she believed. And somewhere along the way, she forgot that she, too, deserved peace. But now, as the days pass in this new chapter, she's starting to realize something profound. The guilt that once held her down, it doesn't belong to her. It was never hers to carry. She had been manipulated, shaped by the demands and control of others. For so long, she'd believed that her worth was measured by what she gave, by how much she sacrificed. She had convinced herself that it was selfish to want peace, to want freedom, to want her own happiness. But that wasn't selfish. It was survival. Her hands tremble slightly as she sets the book back down and walks toward the small desk in the corner of the room. There, neatly arranged, are the papers she's been organizing for the past few days, lists of things to do, reminders of what comes next. But as she looks at them now, they seem less like obligations and more like choices. Real choices. Choices that are hers and hers alone. The guilt she once felt about wanting something for herself, about seeking happiness, is slowly but surely dissolving. The thought of it, the suffocating weight of it, feels like a memory now, distant and fading. She breathes deeply, a sense of freedom swirling inside her like a wind that's been waiting to escape. She thinks about how different everything feels now. How she used to be so afraid of wanting anything for herself, afraid of taking up space in her own life. But now, in this apartment, in this space that she's carved out for herself, she no longer feels like an afterthought. She doesn't have to apologize for taking up space. She doesn't have to justify wanting peace, wanting happiness, wanting to just be. And for the first time in what feels like forever, she feels light. Not because she's let go of others. No, she still loves Sophie, still feels the pull of family, but because she's finally let go of the weight of other people's expectations. She no longer feels like she has to prove herself to anyone. A sharp buzz pulls her from her thoughts, but this time, she doesn't hesitate. She picks up the phone, seeing Sophie's name again on the screen. The message is simple, as it always is. Mom? Her finger hovers over the screen. The quiet tug of guilt stirs again. She wants to respond, wants to explain everything to Sophie, to reassure her that this is not her fault. But she doesn't. Not yet. Not until she's fully ready to be the mother Sophie deserves. For the first time in a long time, she understands that her happiness is not something she has to ask permission for. With a steady breath, she sets the phone down and, without a second thought, moves toward the window again. The sunset is deeper now, and she watches as the colors shift, as the world quietly transitions from day to night. She no longer has to answer to anyone. The weight of all those years of guilt is gone, and in its place is something new. Something that feels like power, like the ability to shape her own future. For the first time, she doesn't feel like a piece of someone else's puzzle. She is the one who gets to decide the pieces that fit into her life. The future, with all its possibilities, is wide open. And this time, Emily is ready to walk through the door she's finally opened for herself. The morning light is soft and welcoming, spilling through the blinds as Emily sits at her small kitchen table. A cup of coffee warms her hands, and the quiet hum of the apartment feels like a gentle embrace, wrapping around her in a way she's never known before. It's the kind of peace that doesn't need to be explained. It simply is. For the first time in what feels like forever, she feels completely present in her own life. No distractions, no demands, just the slow, steady rhythm of her own heart. She takes a deep breath and looks out the window, watching the world below her. The city is waking up, people moving about in their daily routines, none of them aware of the internal transformation taking place in this quiet apartment. But it doesn't matter. She's no longer tethered to the outside world, not in the same way she used to be. She has taken the first steps towards something new, something she's always dreamed of but never thought possible, a life of independence. The weight of yesterday's decisions feels lighter now. She's no longer burdened by guilt, no longer trapped by the need to please others. The constant push and pull of her old life, the demands that never seem to end, are distant memories. She has room to breathe, room to think, room to be. As she sips her coffee, Emily's mind drifts to her goals. She has a list now, a list of things she wants to achieve, of the pieces she needs to put together to build a life that's truly her own. A new career, a fresh start, maybe even a business of her own. The possibilities are endless, and she feels a renewed sense of excitement about the future. She hadn't realized how much of her energy had been drained by simply surviving, by constantly trying to keep everyone else afloat. But now, she feels like a different woman, one who is finally learning to live for herself. Her past decisions, while painful, are the stepping stones that have led her here. And now, she's taking control. Her phone buzzes again, a sharp intrusion into the peaceful morning. She picks it up, seeing John's name flash on the screen. "Please, Emily, come back. We need to talk." His message is pleading, the same as the others, the same as always. She presses the ignore button, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. And she knows, deep down, that he never will. John is still stuck in the past, trying to pull her back into a life that she's already left behind. She doesn't owe him an explanation, not anymore. Not when she's finally free. She places the phone down and lets out a slow exhale. A quiet sense of pride begins to fill her chest. She did it. She walked away. She took back her life. The phone buzzes again. This time, it's Sophie's name lighting up the screen. Emily hesitates, her heart catching in her throat. She hasn't spoken to Sophie since she left. Not directly. She's been letting the distance between them settle, knowing that eventually, Sophie would understand. The messages from Sophie had been simple, full of longing. "Mom, please answer me." She hasn't responded. Not yet. She knows Sophie is confused, hurt, but she also knows that she needs to do this for herself before she can fully explain. With a deep breath, Emily picks up the phone. She swipes across the screen and opens the message. Sophie's words are short, almost fragile. "I miss you, Mom. But I understand why you left." Emily's chest tightens. She wants to reach out, to offer words of comfort, to promise Sophie that everything will be okay. But right now, she needs to focus on her own healing. She types a response, but instead of the comforting words she'd once been so eager to give, she simply writes, "I love you, Sophie. Always." She sets the phone down again, letting out a long breath, and feels a small weight lift off her shoulders. It's not a perfect resolution, not yet. But it's a start. It's progress. Emily gets up from the table, her legs moving steadily beneath her as she walks toward the window once more. She gazes out at the horizon, watching as the sunlight changes the colors of the sky. The future is unfolding before her, quiet, uncertain, but full of possibility. She's no longer afraid of what lies ahead. The world is hers to shape now, and she's ready to take the next step. For the first time, she's not doing it for anyone else. She's doing it for her. And that feels more powerful than anything she could have imagined. As she stands there, watching the day unfold, a sense of peace settles deeper inside her. The first step has been taken. The road ahead is hers to walk, and she is ready. The future, with all its possibilities, is finally within her reach. And this time, she's not looking back. The sunlight is brighter today, spilling through the apartment's windows and casting long shadows across the floor. It's the kind of day that feels full of possibility, and Emily is beginning to feel the weight of her decision in a way that's both exhilarating and terrifying. She sits at the small kitchen table, a pile of paperwork spread before her, applications, forms, instructions. The loan she's applying for, the one that will make her dream of owning her own business a reality, has been on her mind for weeks now. She's been carefully researching, planning, and now she's taking the final step. Her fingers tremble slightly as she fills out the forms, her mind spinning with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. It's not that she's unsure of the future. She feels more certain now than she ever has. It's just that the weight of this decision, this commitment, is immense. She's used to being the one who followed, the one who took the back seat to the needs of others. Now, she's stepping into the driver's seat, and there's no turning back. She looks at the forms one last time, her heart pounding in her chest. She could have asked for help, reached out to someone for advice, for reassurance, but this is her journey. It has to be. She knows that now. With a deep breath, she gathers the papers and heads to the bank. The day is warm, the air still thick with the early heat of summer. She feels a little unsteady, but it's a good kind of unsteady, the kind that comes with taking risks, with stepping out of the comfort zone she's been trapped in for so long. Inside the bank, the atmosphere is cool and impersonal, but it's also a reminder of the world she's stepping into. A world where she can make things happen for herself. She waits at the counter, her hands folded neatly on the table in front of her. When the clerk calls her name, she stands and walks over, feeling the weight of her decision, but also the quiet power that comes with it. The loan officer takes the papers, eyes scanning over them briefly before smiling and nodding. "Everything looks good. We'll process this, and you should hear back in about a week." A wave of relief washes over her. but it's quickly replaced by the rush of anticipation. This could be it. This could be the start of something real. She feels a slight shake in her hands, but it's not from fear. It's from the excitement of finally building something for herself. For her. As she walks out of the bank, the world seems brighter, more vivid. She stands on the sidewalk, looking out at the bustling street, the cars and people moving around her. It's all happening. It's real. She takes a deep breath, letting the air fill her lungs. There's a freedom here she hadn't fully understood before. A freedom she's fought for, earned, and finally claimed. The phone buzzes in her bag, pulling her from her thoughts. She reaches into her purse and pulls it out, seeing John's name on the screen. She's not surprised. He's been trying to get in touch for days now. The message is simple. Can we talk? For a moment, she stares at the screen. She wonders if it's possible to feel sympathy for someone who's never truly seen you. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. And the truth is, she doesn't owe him an explanation anymore. Her finger hovers over the screen. There was a time, not so long ago, when she would have rushed to explain herself. She would have tried to smooth things over, to make him see reason. But not anymore. She's done with that version of herself, the woman who kept others' peace at the expense of her own. With a steady hand, she presses delete. There's a finality in the action, one that's both empowering and liberating. This is her life, and she is the one who gets to shape it. She feels a sense of calm in her chest as she slips the phone back into her bag. For the first time, she doesn't feel conflicted. She doesn't feel torn between what she owes to him and what she owes to herself. The answer is simple. She owes herself everything. The future is no longer a far-off dream. It's here, and it's hers. The first step has been taken. There's no going back now. As she walks back to her apartment, her pace quickens. Her heart is light, her mind focused on the path ahead. She knows it won't be easy. There will be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But she also knows she's ready for them. She's not the woman who put everyone else's needs first anymore. She's not the woman who silently suffered for the sake of keeping the peace. She's Emily. She's free. And she's ready. The door to her apartment clicks shut behind her, and she stands in the hallway for a moment, taking in the quiet. She can hear the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, the soft rhythm of the apartment around her. It's hers now, all hers. She takes a deep breath and walks into the next room, ready for what comes next. The future, with all its possibilities, is waiting. And Emily is finally ready to embrace it. The office is small, just like the apartment, but it's filled with energy. The walls are adorned with plans, sketches, and ideas. Things that once lived only in Emily's mind, but now stand as tangible proof of what she's built. Every inch of space tells a story of triumph, struggle, and resilience. She moves around her desk with purpose, the quiet hum of the computer and the soft tapping of keys, providing a steady rhythm that feels like a heartbeat of its own. The business is growing, slowly, but it's growing. Emily has learned, through trial and error, what it takes to succeed. The late nights, the countless emails, the hours spent refining her products, her services, her brand, it's all paying off. She doesn't have to share her victories with anyone anymore, and for the first time, that feels okay. Her success is hers alone, and she's proud of it. Proud of what she's created from nothing but determination and the refusal to accept anything less than the life she deserves. The phone buzzes on her desk. It's a text from Sophie. "I'm coming over today. I want to see you." Emily smiles to herself, a small flutter of excitement in her chest. It's been a while since they've sat down and talked face to face, just the two of them. Since she left, there's been a silence between them. a distance that Sophie is still trying to understand. Emily knows this visit is important. They've both been moving forward, but this is the moment where they reconnect. Not as mother and daughter in a fractured family, but as two women who are learning to stand on their own. She looks around the office again, taking it all in. Her desk, the paperwork, the business cards neatly stacked, the calendar filled with deadlines and appointments. She's built all of this. No one helped her. No one held her hand. She didn't need anyone else's approval to get here. That's what fills her with pride now. Not just the success of the business, but the fact that she did it on her own. Emily stands, stretching her arms above her head. She walks over to the window, the same window where she stood so many months ago, staring out at the world below, unsure of what was to come. Now, the world looks different. It's no longer overwhelming. It's full of opportunity. Every new day feels like a blank page, waiting for her to write her story. She thinks about her next steps. The business is just the beginning. She has dreams, bigger ones than she ever allowed herself to have. She wants to expand, maybe even mentor other women who've been in the same place she was, who feel like they're invisible, lost in the noise of everyone else's expectations. She could do that. She could do anything. The doorbell rings. Emily's heart skips a beat as she heads to the door. When she opens it, Sophie stands there, a hesitant smile on her face. Her hair is longer now, and she looks like she's changed too. Emily feels a wave of tenderness as she looks at her daughter, this young woman who has always been a part of her, yet who feels so separate now. They stand there for a moment, just looking at each other, neither of them sure where to begin. But then Sophie steps forward, wrapping her arms around Emily in a tight hug. Emily closes her eyes for a moment, allowing herself to feel the weight of this moment, of her daughter, of this life, of everything that has led them to this point. "I'm so proud of you," Sophie whispers as they pull apart. Emily smiles, her heart swelling. "I'm proud of you too, sweetheart." They sit down together, and for the next few hours they talk. Not about the past, but about what comes next. Sophie is starting her own life too, figuring out her path, finding her place in the world. Emily listens, offering encouragement, sharing her own journey, how she found her independence, how she learned to stop asking for permission to live the life she wanted. As Sophie talks about her plans, Emily realizes something. She doesn't need to justify her choices to anyone. She's no longer seeking validation from anyone, not John, not Helen, and not even Sophie. She's done it for herself, and that is enough. Her life, her future, her legacy is hers to shape. The conversation shifts, naturally, to the business. Sophie's curiosity and excitement about Emily's venture fills the room with energy, and for the first time in a long time, Emily feels that familiar sense of connection, not just as a mother, but as a woman who has built something from the ground up. She feels like she's standing on solid ground now, like she's no longer teetering on the edge of fear and doubt. "I want to help you," Sophie says, her eyes bright with the same spark Emily saw in herself once. "I think I could be a part of this. Maybe help with marketing or something." Emily smiles, her heart lifting. "We'll figure it out," she says, "together." The idea of sharing this part of her life with Sophie feels like a new beginning. There are no limits to what they can achieve, both individually and together. The road ahead is wide open, full of new opportunities, new adventures. As Sophie leaves, Emily stands in the doorway and watches her walk down the hall. She feels a quiet sense of fulfillment settle in her chest, the kind of peace that comes from knowing she's finally on the right path, not just for herself, but for the future she's building. She turns back into the apartment, the quiet hum of her life surrounding her, and for the first time, She feels completely at peace with it all. The future, with all its possibilities, is hers to shape. And Emily is ready. Her legacy has just begun. The letter sits on the kitchen counter, the envelope simple and clean, bearing the weight of a history Emily has long since abandoned. It's from John. She knows what it is before she even opens it, but still, she hesitates. Her fingers brush against the edges of the envelope, and she wonders for a moment why she even bothers to read it. What good will it do? She exhales softly, the air carrying a tinge of relief. There's nothing left to explain. Not to him, not to Helen, not to anyone who couldn't see the woman she was becoming. But she picks up the letter anyway, unsealing it carefully, as if it were a relic from a past life. Inside, the words are heavy with regret, an apology she doesn't need, and a final plea to come back. I miss you, Emily. I understand why you left. But please, don't shut me out completely. You don't have to do this alone. Please come back. Emily sets the letter down slowly. She feels the familiar stir of something in her chest. Sadness, perhaps? Or maybe just the ghosts of what could have been. She lets herself sit with it for a moment, not pushing it away, not trying to force herself to move on too quickly. The sadness is natural. It's part of the process. But then, as she rereads the words, she feels a shift inside her, a quiet clarity. No, she won't go back. She can't. She has already stepped into a new life, one she built with her own hands. There's nothing left for her there but the echoes of a life she's no longer willing to live. The letter isn't a final answer. It's just one last reminder of a life she's left behind. And for the first time, Emily doesn't feel the guilt she used to. She's not responsible for John's happiness. She's not responsible for anyone else's peace but her own. With a firm, deliberate motion, she picks up the letter again, crumples it in her hands, and tosses it in the trash. There's a sense of finality to it, something powerful in the act of letting go. She stands, looking around the apartment, at the space she's made for herself. The small office, now filled with the hum of her business, the kitchen that's all her own, the quiet comfort of her routine. She walks over to her desk, smoothing the surface, her eyes tracing the open laptop and the calendar filled with upcoming projects, meetings, goals. She feels grounded, centered, no longer lost in the whirlwind of other people's needs. The phone buzzes on the counter again, interrupting her thoughts. Sophie's name flashes on the screen, and for a moment, Emily feels the familiar ache in her chest. She hasn't heard from her in a few days, but they've been in touch, always moving forward. Sophie is carving out her own life, just as Emily is now. She picks up the phone, swiping the screen open. Mom? Sophie's voice comes through clearly, the connection a little staticky. I just wanted to check in, see how you're doing. I know we're both busy, but I miss you. I hope you're doing okay. The words hit her in a way she didn't expect. Her throat tightens, the vulnerability creeping up again. She's been focused so much on herself, on the business, that it's easy to forget how much she still carries for Sophie. But Sophie has her own life now, her own path. And that's part of the freedom Emily has found, letting go of the need to be everything to everyone. Sophie's journey is hers, and Emily's is hers. I'm doing well, Emily says, her voice steady but warm. Really well, actually. Things are moving forward, and I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be. A pause on the other end of the line, followed by Sophie's soft, tentative words. I'm proud of you, Mom. Emily closes her eyes for a brief moment, the words settling deep into her chest. She feels a rush of warmth. This is the connection she's been craving, not the apology or the guilt, but the understanding. Sophie understands, even if it's not perfect, and that's enough for now. I'm proud of you too, Emily responds, her voice firm, full of certainty. We're both doing great. They talk a little longer, Sophie sharing her plans for the future, Emily offering advice where she can, but the conversation is light, filled with promise and hope. When the call ends, Emily places the phone down, feeling lighter. She doesn't need to explain herself anymore. Sophie, despite everything, sees her for who she really is, and that's enough. Emily turns back to the apartment, the life she's built. She moves around the space, making small adjustments here and there, fine-tuning the pieces that have come together so far. She can feel the momentum building, her confidence growing with every step. She knows there will be more challenges ahead. The road is never completely smooth, but for the first time, she feels ready. Ready to face whatever comes next, because now she knows she can handle it. She's no longer waiting for someone else to save her. She's the one who has saved herself. As Emily steps into her office, she picks up the phone again, her fingers hovering over the screen. A message from Sophie flashes one more time, just a short, simple note. I love you, Mom. A smile touches Emily's lips as she sets the phone down. This is it. This is the life she's building. Her legacy. Her future. And no one, not John, not Helen, not anyone, can take it from her now. The door to the next chapter is wide open. Emily is walking through it, and nothing will stand in her way. The sun has barely begun to rise, casting a soft glow over the apartment, and Emily's mind is already racing with possibility. She sits at her desk, sipping coffee, her eyes scanning the notes she's written for the day ahead. The business is growing, steadily but surely, and Emily can feel it, deep in her bones. There is no longer any doubt, no uncertainty. Her life, for the first time, is hers to shape. There was a time when she would have been afraid of this, afraid of the unknown, of stepping out of her comfort zone. But now it feels exhilarating. She is no longer tied to the expectations of others, no longer weighed down by the need to please. The shackles that held her in place for so many years have been shattered, and the freedom to live her own life on her own terms feels like a gift she's finally unwrapped. The phone buzzes on her desk, pulling her from her thoughts. A text from an old acquaintance. She smiles softly as she reads the message, a simple invitation. Hey Emily, it's been a while. Want to grab coffee this week? Emily stares at the screen for a moment, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. It's not just a coffee date, it's an opportunity. An opportunity to build new relationships, to meet people who share her values, her goals, people who are building their own paths just like she is. There was a time when Emily would have hesitated, unsure of whether she fit in, but now the answer is simple. She quickly types a response. I'd love to. How about Thursday? The moment she hits send, she feels a sense of excitement stir inside her. It's small, this simple step, but it's a step forward. For the first time in a long time, Emily feels like she's walking into a world that is waiting for her to find her place in it. A world full of opportunities, all hers for the taking. Her phone buzzes again, but this time it's a reminder from her calendar. Meeting with new clients at 1 p.m. Emily glances at the time, and with a quick breath, she stands up, collecting the papers on her desk. She's not rushing, but she's moving with a purpose. Every action now feels intentional, driven by the realization that this life, this future, is the one she's been waiting for. As she steps into the kitchen to grab her bag, she pauses for a moment, looking around the apartment. It's not just an apartment anymore. It's her sanctuary, her space to breathe, to create. The once bare walls are now adorned with small touches that make it hers. A vase of fresh flowers on the table, a framed photograph of her and Sophie during one of their trips, a painting that once hung in her father's house, now bringing a sense of warmth and connection to her own home. Every object, every piece of furniture tells the story of her journey. She smiles to herself as she grabs her coat. The life she's built is not just about the business. It's about her, the woman she is becoming. Strong, independent, free. By the time she steps into the cafe, the buzz of conversation and the smell of fresh coffee fills her senses. It's familiar, comforting. But today, she doesn't feel like an outsider. She walks confidently to the counter, orders a cappuccino, and finds a seat by the window. It's a small act, but one she's never taken for granted. In the past, she would have waited for someone to join her, to fill the space with conversation, with noise. Today, she's comfortable in the silence, in the peace of her own company. Her phone vibrates again, but this time it's a notification from her business account. Another order placed, another client signed on. She smiles, the familiar pride swelling in her chest. This is the life she fought for, and it's unfolding, step by step, exactly as she'd hoped. There are no limitations now, no walls to hold her back. Later that evening, after a productive day spent working on marketing strategies and responding to client requests, Emily sits down with her laptop, reviewing the plans she has for the business's growth. She can see it now, the future stretching out before her like an open road, full of twists and turns, each one an opportunity to shape her legacy. She's no longer afraid of the road ahead. In the quiet of the apartment, she reflects on her journey so far. The strength it took to walk away, the courage to rebuild, the confidence to trust herself. There's no longer a need to seek approval from anyone. Not from John, not from Helen, not from anyone who tried to shape her into something she wasn't. The woman she is now has been forged from the fire of adversity, and nothing can stand in her way. Her phone buzzes again. She picks it up, smiling as she sees Sophie's name flash across the screen. The distance between them has been healing, slowly but surely. Sophie still has her own life, her own path, but they are walking parallel now, both learning to stand strong on their own. "I'm so proud of you," Sophie says softly through the phone, and Emily feels a warmth spread through her chest. "I'm proud of you too," she responds, her voice steady, filled with the certainty of someone who knows exactly who she is now. They talk for a few more minutes, Sophie excited about her own progress, Emily reassured that their bond is stronger than ever. When the call ends, Emily leans back in her chair, letting out a deep breath. She's built something, not just the business, but a life that is hers. A life where she is no longer waiting for permission to be happy. The door to her future is wide open, and she's already walking through it, head held high. The possibilities are endless, and for the first time, Emily knows that she's ready for whatever comes next. The sun is setting again, but today the light feels different, warmer, softer, as if the world itself is quietly acknowledging how far Emily has come. She stands by the window of her apartment, looking out at the city, the streets below still bustling, unaware of the inner transformation she's undergone. In the past, the noise, the crowds, the busy pace of life might have overwhelmed her. But not anymore. Now everything feels clearer, sharper, more focused. She takes a slow breath, her chest rising and falling with the peaceful rhythm of the moment. It's been a year since she walked away from the life she thought she was meant to live, a year since she made the decision to choose herself. Looking back, it feels almost impossible to believe that the woman who once cowered under the weight of everyone else's needs, her husband's, her mother-in-law's, even Sophie's, has now become this woman, standing tall, grounded, at peace. The lessons she's learned have not been easy. They've been earned through struggle, through moments of doubt, through the pain of leaving behind what was familiar. even if it no longer served her. There were days when the weight of the decision felt unbearable, when she questioned whether she was making a mistake. There were nights she cried in the silence of her apartment, wondering if she would ever feel whole again. But today, she feels whole. Today, she understands what it means to trust herself. She runs her fingers over the edge of the countertop, a simple gesture, but it's grounding. She remembers when every decision, every step forward felt like a battle. Now, it's different. She's no longer fighting to be seen. She's no longer waiting for permission to be happy. She has learned that happiness isn't something you ask for. It's something you create. The journey was hard, yes. There were losses along the way. People she thought would be by her side forever. Relationships that frayed and unraveled. Dreams that had to be let go. But in the letting go, she's found a deeper truth. She is stronger than she ever imagined. She is capable of more than she gave herself credit for. And she's not afraid of what the future holds anymore. As she sits at her desk, the soft light of the setting sun reflecting off her laptop screen, Emily feels a quiet sense of pride. Her business is thriving. Her independence is no longer a dream, but a reality. She has built something for herself, something that matters. But more than that, she's built herself. She picks up her phone, scrolling through messages, responding to clients, but then pauses. A thought occurs to her, a shift in perspective. The life she's living now, the woman she's become, could serve as a guide to others. There are so many women, so many people, who are stuck in relationships or situations that make them feel small, unseen, powerless. She's been there. She knows how it feels. Maybe it's time to share her story, to let others see that change is possible, that they too can build the life they want. The thought of reaching out, of sharing her journey, excites her. For the first time in years, she feels like she has something to offer beyond just herself. She has the wisdom, the strength, the courage to help others who feel trapped. Emily opens her email and begins to type, not a message to a client, but a message to herself. She's writing an outline for a blog, a platform to share her story, her lessons, her path to freedom. She's done hiding, done waiting for the approval of others. This is her moment to show up fully and authentically. It wasn't easy, she writes, but I would never go back. The hardest part wasn't leaving. The hardest part was realizing I could have everything I wanted, if only I had the courage to choose it. She finishes the message and stares at the screen for a moment, reading the words over and over. She's not just sharing a story, she's stepping into her full power. She's not asking for permission to be proud. She is proud. The phone rings again. Emily doesn't check it right away. The number is unfamiliar. She knows it's probably just another client, another meeting. But as the phone vibrates, a small sense of curiosity lingers. She picks it up, glancing at the screen. It's from Sophie. Emily's chest tightens slightly as she answers. "Hey, Mom." Sophie's voice comes through, steady but full of warmth. "I was just thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. I've been talking to a few people who could really benefit from your advice, your journey. I think you could help them, help other women, just like you helped me." Emily feels a lump form in her throat, a wave of emotion she hadn't expected. She's always been Sophie's support, her anchor. But now Sophie is offering the same to her. In the silence that stretches between them, Emily can't help but smile, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I'm so proud of you," Sophie adds softly, the words carrying the weight of their shared history. Emily swallows, taking a steadying breath. "I'm proud of you too, sweetheart." She hangs up the phone, her heart full, and looks around her apartment once again. It's more than just a place to live, it's the space where she's learned to live for herself. The journey has been long, and it's far from over. But she's ready. As she walks to the window, the city sprawled out before her. Emily finally knows what it feels like to be truly free. Her past will always be a part of her, but it's not who she is anymore. She's built something new, and the future is wide open. And this time, she's not waiting for anything. The door to her new beginning has swung wide open, and she's stepping through it with a strength she never knew she had. The office is bustling, but today, the air feels different, filled with the kind of energy Emily has only dreamed about. Her business, once a fragile hope, is now a thriving company with a team of passionate individuals who believe in her vision. They move in and out of the space with purpose, each contributing to something bigger than themselves. The once small desk she sat at with nothing but an idea has now transformed into a strategic command center, where decisions are made, goals are set, and dreams are realized. Emily has built it all, from the ground up. And today, she stands as a testament to what hard work, resilience, and the courage to start over can create. She steps into the open plan office, a soft hum of conversation and the click of keyboards filling the air. It's no longer just her. There are others here now, a team of talented individuals who share her drive, her determination. The first hire was the hardest. Now, she has a team, and they're thriving together. There's something powerful about watching her vision come to life through the work of others, each person playing their part in something much larger than just one person's dream. Emily pauses at her desk, looking over the latest quarterly report. Sales are up, the brand is growing, and for the first time she can see what she's built clearly, laid out in the numbers, in the success stories of her clients, and in the smiles of her team. This is real. This is hers. A few months ago, she would have been tempted to pause and reflect on how far she's come, to pat herself on the back. But now she's focused on what's next. There's always something more to accomplish, another milestone to reach. Yet today, Emily allows herself a moment of stillness. She sits at her desk, letting the reality of everything she's achieved settle around her like a soft weight. Her fingers brush the edges of a framed photo on her desk, a picture of her with Sophie, taken during one of their early mornings in the park after Emily had just left the house. It's a reminder of how far they've both come, of the strength it took to rebuild not just herself, but their relationship too. The phone buzzes and she picks it up, a quick glance at the screen showing a reminder for a conference call with a potential new investor. She smiles. Her empire is growing, but there's no time to rest on her laurels. She has to keep pushing forward. This moment is only the beginning. As the call progresses, she listens intently, her voice steady and confident. It's not just the business she's growing, it's herself. The woman who once felt like she was drowning in her own life is now running a thriving business and inspiring others to do the same. Emily has become more than a businesswoman. She's a force, a symbol of what happens when you decide to take control of your life. The company, her company, flourishes under the guidance of a woman who understands what it means to be strong, to be independent, to be a leader. Later that afternoon, Emily walks into a conference room where she's been invited to speak at a women's leadership event. The room is filled with eager faces, women from all walks of life, all looking for the inspiration to break free from their own limitations. She steps up to the podium, the weight of the microphone in her hand grounding her in the present. She takes a breath, looking out at the sea of faces before her. The words come naturally now. They flow from her like a river that's been building for years. She talks about the journey she's taken, the pain of leaving, the strength it took to rebuild, and the reward of living for yourself. There are no tears today, no regret. There's only the empowerment that comes from knowing she's not only changed her life, but she's now in a position to change others as well. After the speech, Women approach her in groups, expressing their gratitude, sharing their stories, and asking for advice. Emily listens with compassion, offering her insights where she can, but it's clear now that her story is one of many. She's not just an isolated case of success. She's part of a larger movement of women finding their own voices, their own power. The empire she's building is not just about her business, it's about creating a space where others can rise alongside her. As the event wraps up, and Emily steps back into the bustling office, she can't help but feel a deep sense of pride. She's not just a business owner, she's a mentor, a leader, a beacon for others who need to see that it's possible to break free from the past, to rebuild, to thrive. That night, as Emily sits on her couch, the quiet of her apartment wrapping around her like a familiar embrace, she reflects on how far she's come. She knows her journey isn't over. There are still challenges ahead, still moments where doubt may creep in. But she also knows that she's built something lasting, something that will carry her legacy. Her phone buzzes once more. Another message from Sophie. Emily smiles as she reads the text. "I'm so proud of you, Mom. You've done it. I'm always here for you." A wave of emotion surges through Emily's chest. The woman who was once afraid to take up space in her own life has not only taken up space, she's created a world where she belongs, where she thrives, where she can help others find their own strength. As Emily looks out the window, the city lights flickering in the distance, she knows this is only the beginning. The empire she's built is just that, a foundation, a stepping stone to something greater. And she's ready for whatever comes next. The future is hers, and it's more than she ever imagined. They thought I was just another mouth to feed. But I built my own future, and it's more than I ever imagined.